call the Committee on Campaign and Election Oversight to order and ask Mr. Clerk to take the roll for attendance.
Chair Mcmanus.
Here.
Senator Brown.
Here.
Senator Jansen.
Here.
Senator Jacobs.
Here.
Senator Shower. Madam Chairperson, you have 4 members.
Wonderful. At this time, I need a motion for the minutes on July 18, 2007. Senator Jansen, support by Senator Brown.
Chairwoman McManus.
Yes.
Senator Brown. Yes. Senator Jansen.
Yes.
Senator Jacobs.
Yes.
Senator Shower.
All right. Well, at this time, we're very fortunate to have our own Secretary of State in the presence of the room here today. I'd like to invite Terry Land up to kind of give us an overview and talk a little bit about what's been going on in her office and the kinds of items that she would like to see our committee work on. Welcome.
Welcome, Senator. Thank you very much for having me. I've got Chris Thomas with me and Brian Devano and Doug, so we've got plenty of folks for you if you have questions on different subject matters here. But first, I really just like to thank you. You guys have done a great job over the last 4 years while I've been here in consolidated elections and uniform voting standards and HAVA, the Help America Vote Act. And I really appreciate all your help with that. It's been a little bit challenging times in Michigan with elections, with the federal government coming in and doing more and more rulemaking and procedures as far as how we administrate elections in Michigan and for that matter the country. So we really appreciate your opportunity to work with us. And also I want to take a moment to thank the clerks. I think there's a few of them in the audience, but they really have put in yeoman's work too. They've worked very hard at training their election workers and also to train the voters on all the new systems. And I just want to thank them publicly too. They've done a good job. Of course, Senator Jansen used to be a clerk, and I appreciate your help and support on that too. So thank you to all the election officials out there for doing a great job. But that doesn't mean we don't have some new, more exciting ideas to make their job even easier and better for the voters. So we have a few things that we'd like to share with you, and we know you have your agenda items too, and hopefully we can coordinate on some of them so that we can work together to make it easier for our voters here in Michigan. The first issue that I'd like to talk a little bit about is providing greater flexibility to first-time voters who register by mail. As you know, that's a tough one here in Michigan. If you do not register in person the first time, you can't vote absentee, you have to vote in person. And that has been a challenge for a lot of our voters, and we realize that. And so what we're suggesting is a couple of options that maybe we can do here is to let local election officials with townships and cities and counties be able to have folks come in. And they actually could then, show that they are who they are, and then they can get their name checked off the list so they actually can vote absentee back in their home community. And I think this will help a lot of folks, especially our students. I have 2 students in college right now, one at U of M and one at Grand Valley, and I hear this all the time from parents who are very frustrated because their kids had maybe signed up at voter reg drive, which is great. We want as many kids signing up to participate as possible. But on the other hand, they get to college and realize they can't get an absentee ballot, and that's a challenge. And so we think this is one way to help this. It's a very simple, easy, cost-effective way to do this, where we get all the election officials working together in one team in Michigan, and I think that would be a good way to go on that. The other issue that we've been working on, and we've had a issues group on this, is petitions, and we appreciate everyone who's been supportive on that and their input in making that committee work. And so we got a few ideas on that that we'd like to share. There's a lot of groups out there, unfortunately, who aren't doing it the right way. And we think we need some tougher laws on going after those folks who are doing it fraudulently and not following the rules. Right now, it's hardly a penalty that would really make anybody or deter anybody from actually, not following the law. So we think it's important to make that a little bit stronger so that people are deterred from doing that. We also feel strongly about the paying per signature. We don't think that's a good idea. We think we ought to eliminate that. It really has a negative impact on elections and also on our clerks, if I may, getting all those signatures at a late time and then having to check them and making sure that everybody's a voter in Michigan. So, and then there's a lot of, and on a positive note too, there's a lot of good organizations out there that have been registering voters, and I should thank them. because they are doing a great job. They are, trying to do the best they can to get people to participate in the system. But unfortunately, what happens sometimes, even with good folks, they may leave them in the trunk of their car, and unfortunately, they don't get to the clerk in time, and so they pass the deadline, and they aren't registered to vote, and we don't want that to happen. So we just think some of these changes would really help with all of them. And again, thank you for all the good groups out there who are working hard on that. Now, another topic that we wanted to share with you is our voters overseas in the military. As you know, we can do the AV. We can do the AV part online, but we haven't had the ability to do ballots online. So what we're suggesting is that getting the application online, getting that process done, then actually emailing them their ballot, which they can print off, and then they vote that ballot, which is a printed off ballot, and then of course they'd have to mail that back with a signature. So that's a suggestion that we have for those folks who would like to work with the Defense Department to see if that's an option that we can do to shorten that time frame up for those folks so they can participate. We want to also talk about the polling places. Polling places have changed since my day 30 years ago, where you just had challenges from two political parties, which is great, and that's great for democracy. But some other groups have started to join the polling places that are not from the political parties. These folks don't follow the same rules that we do in the party system. Unfortunately, come into town when there's an election, then leave town when the election's over. I feel very comfortable with both party chairs who I've worked with extensively on elections in Michigan. But the problem is with some of these outside groups, 527s for example, they don't have anybody I can talk to. And unfortunately, they're causing problems in polling places. And we need to define who can be in a polling place and for what reason they're there. Now, this is not something that other states haven't done. In fact, once I started looking at what some of the other states had done, I realized that we were pretty lax. Now, that's a good thing, that we've gone this far without feeling we needed to do something about this. And that says, I think, speaks well for both parties, that they've basically followed the rules and done a good job. But when you get outside interests that don't even live here in Michigan, I think we can all agree that we want to make sure that our voters can vote in private without anybody harassing them when they're at the polls. So we want to deal with that issue also. The other is, of course, the permanent absentee voter list. As you know, we have two rulings in Michigan, one in Wayne Circuit and one up in Macomb County, thank you. Macomb County's district with one ruling there and one ruling in Wayne, and we really need to have one ruling. I support having a permanent AV list, but to be honest with you, at this point, I just want a rule. If you guys decide you don't want that, I'm sure you have a lot of folks being out there trying to encourage you to have it, but I really think we need to address this issue because with one issue, one position in Macomb County and one position in Wayne, all the clerks in Michigan do not have a really consistent ruling on this, and we need to have that. So I would hope that you could look at that, because we need to make it easier for our seniors, for our disabled voters, and that permanent AV list, I think, will do that. So that's very, very important for us in the election world. I know you guys are going to do campaign finance, but I'm going to put that in. I just wanted to tell you that I still support real-time campaign finance. I would hope that's something that we can take up at another time. But I think it would be very simple and easy to do. What you basically do is post your receipts and your expenditures online in real time.